You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Hey, hope everybody had a great Christmas.
Happy holidays, Greg Hectus.
What's up, everybody?
And David Hall.
It's the button on the left, Greg.
Sorry, I was changing screens.
After a week off for the holidays, we're back with all the info you've been coming here for. We'll see how iRacing is supporting their highest tech race car ever, the Mercedes W12 F1. We'll see how Dale Earnhardt Jr. is spending his time in iRacing and hardware products that may be just what you're looking for.
An F1 car for the first time.
And remember, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all these great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting the show notes. So we hope to see you there.
Sim Coaches offers the most realistic sim racing equipment you need to win more races online. It is designed for real racers. Hydraulic construction makes them feel just like the real thing. High-quality construction, 100% leak-proof, and lifetime warranty are the key features with these pedals, and they look absolutely amazing. Check out simcoaches.com. Use the coupon code iRacersLounge to get 10% off your purchase. Simcoaches.com is your ticket to feel like you're actually sitting behind the wheel of a car, drive harder, and stay on the limit longer.
All right, we'll dive into the first topic of the year with a video about how to MGU. I did give this video a watch, but it was actually before Christmas, so I'll see if I can remember everything. iRacing posted this video on their YouTube channel, and they've explained how the hybrid system works. So it's a little bit different than, say, an LMP1, where you can kind of just tell it when to deploy, and it has several different settings from caution, where there's no deploy at all, to regen, where the computer basically focuses on trying to regain battery, slows you down a little bit, and then I think standard and attack, and that basically it just changes how aggressive you use up the battery, and you're allowed up to 4 changes per lap, and that's basically it.
Yeah, and I found these settings finally in one of the F keys. I think it was F9, F10, one of those over there. And like you said, there's a attack, and I think there's balanced, and then there's the third one.
And what you'll also want to do, regen, you'll want to run a few laps, because that computer actually adjusts to your style as you're running the lap. So it's if you have a Formula wheel, you probably want to set those modes to one of your rotary dials, where you can kind of just put them in position. So didn't you get you a Formula wheel, or are you still waiting on somebody to buy the ridiculously expensive one?
I think I'm going to wait until Fanatec offers the Bentley wheel, and I'm going to order it the first day.
I'd get the pedals first.
I got hydraulic pedals.
You do? I thought you had. I thought you had low cell.
I have the MPCC, which is Main Performance PC.
This is one of the original ones. Those things are really old, like one of the original hydraulics.
They're one of the original hydraulic pedal makers, yeah. They're no longer in business, but, I spent like $1,200 on them. When you spend that much money on sim equipment, you kind of expect it to last, and I spent a lot of money on the 80/20 and stuff to kind of mount them. So, and they work great. So,
well, now that we know how the MGU system works, what about launching at the beginning of a race, Mike?
Yeah, so there's actually 3 videos here. The second one is how to start. These are short videos that they put out. this one talks about doing the automated launch with the little clutch thing. You know, I struggle with this car, and I watched these videos, and I really couldn't go in and practice what I was trying to learn, but because I just have the sequential shifter. I don't have paddle shifters, and so when I'm in this car, my hand is literally on the shifter most of the time because you got to shift with 8 different gears quite a bit, and I'm driving one-handed. And to think about having to reach over and push a button and do this and that, it just doesn't work for me. So I need a proper wheel really to do this.
Yeah, and if you get, I don't remember if the Bentley has the analog paddles as well, but you need that for the F1 launch because there's the way it works. You can basically you can have the clutch or the wheel memorize your bite point.
It's a two-phase process.
The video is teaching, yeah.
Enough to get it rolling, and then the rest is to release all the power.
And I even use that in the coming out of the pits and when I'm in the sports cars.
It's actually it's handy in almost any of the road cars if you use it right. Next video that was posted on the iRacing YouTube page as well. It just goes into kind of just the basics of setting up the car, the feeling of the setup and stuff like that. I mean, I looked at all the stuff that you can set up on this car. It's a pretty sophisticated car to go through, but it's a quick watch. It's not a really long video. It's like 1:40, and it gives you a couple gists of what to do on it. But I think most of this car is going to be about driving it and getting used to it more than setting it up to a certain way for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, the sets that are provided by iRacing, you know, I'm not worried about the setup when I drive this car. I am the problem, the driver, if anything. Now, Greg, not only do they have the video, but there is in the forums a post to a link to those videos, but also a link to a user's manual, PDF, 21 pages. And I've been going through this owner's manual, just kind of looking at it. And initially, you know, it goes through what do you see on the wheel? Like, what does all the little numbers on the display mean? You know, it gives what it shows, and then it gives an explanation of what it actually does, and then as you go down, it talks about the setup screens, tire, arrow, the different things that can be changed, and really breaks it down. So if you're really wanting to learn it, this is the next step, is to go to the user manual.
It seems like at least they released this right away with this one, because we kind of didn't have some of these things for a lot of these cars when they first came out. Like, I think it took a while just to even get the LMP1. I don't even know if there is an LMP1 one. I know there's an LMP2 one. But, you know, these are slowly trickling out, but it's nice to have these manuals just to even get to know the car that way. Because, you know, if you ask the question in the forums, you'll get a sarcastic answer, you'll get a normal answer, you might get nothing. You never know what you're going to get in the forums with people talking about them.
There's a lot of work that goes into this documentation. I mean, this is somebody's full-time job, obviously, to write this stuff up. It makes sense that they're documenting probably as they build the car. They're probably working on this user manual from day one, you know, getting it ready. But it's thorough. I'm very impressed.
What, do you know who was doing that video? Who the driver was that was doing that video? Does anybody recognize the voice? For all the videos?
No, I don't recognize it.
I gathered that from the silence. It was kind of telling.
Yeah. Well, you know, the people listening later, the silence gets cut out. But it's not Chandler. That's about all. Him and Greg are the only voice. Greg West are the only voices I'm super familiar with. Nim and Sam never talk in the Winter League.
Well, Christian, you can really tell because of his accent.
that's So this is a pretty good guide as far as this car goes. If you're not super familiar with F1 cars, like I am, it'll give you a really good break into what these cars are really like and what you got to do with them. Because am I not wrong? This is without a doubt the most complicated car in the sim, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, the LMP1 probably similar.
LMP1 is pretty. I would guess it's more. I think maybe because of over time, like this car eventually will become, well known as we go into it. But the LMP1 is basically just an engine with a boost button. It doesn't have the setup technology that I guess it would be pretty similar though, wouldn't it, David?
The setup is very complicated. The only difference is that it's a manual boost rather than an automated boost.
Well, and a ticket-based boost, right? Like you only got 4 tickets to cash in a lap.
Yeah, essentially. With the LMP, you just have a certain amount of energy that you're allowed to use each lap, and a certain amount of battery. And at most tracks, it ends up being the battery that's the bigger factor more than the amount you're allowed to use. It's kind of close at Le Mans because of the huge long straights.
Well, and I think the thing is in F1, they're so restricted by never having to fuel. It makes, these cars could probably have another 400, 500 horsepower without even thinking about it if they didn't have to worry about not running out of fuel by the end of the race. So, trying to make sure a car finishes a race with the fuel and the hybrid working all together, I think it just makes it more of a complicated car strategy-wise or driving-wise.
Yeah, I get you. Because heck, I'm used to running. Most of my races are, fixed oval races, and you pretty much start the engine, and that's pretty much it. You might do some tire options and stuff like that. Maybe change your steering ratio or something like that. But once I get moving, I'm racing, and that's pretty much all there is to it. I don't have to think about all this other stuff. To me, it seems really complicated. If it's a little intimidating, if it's something that you're not used to or not been immersed in already.
Well, that's the thing, Brian. It's like I was trying to describe how I was driving the car. I got one hand on my shifter. I got one hand on the wheel. I need to hit F10 and, click from balance to attack, because I want to pass the guy in front of me. I need like 4 hands or something to drive this car.
Is the fact that you haven't run one of the LMP cars and stuff like that to already be accustomed to some of the stuff you got to do while you're driving them.
Right, it's all new. And then when week 13 ended, the F1 car races that were available were all official. And then I'm like, boy, I really don't want to sacrifice my road iRating just to keep running this car. So I quit running it.
Well, staying in the F1 world, we've got a video from Max Verstappen. It was an interview on YouTube where the new world champion Verstappen, he was asked what does he do when he's not in the car, and his answer was sim racing. He talks about the Red Line Racing team and working the technique and setups for the sim racing. I didn't get to listen to the whole video, but I caught about first couple of minutes. He was talking about how he likes coming on here and having to raise his level because the sim racers are better than him on the sim.
Yeah, fascinating to hear that he's saying that the sim racers on the sim are setting the benchmark, and he's striving to get to that benchmark, and then that in turn makes him a better racer in real life. And so it's kind of training for one to the other, and it goes back and forth. But the way he talks about it, sim racing is harder than real racing.
Well, it's because you don't have the same G-force feedback. and the same visibility, even with whether it's VR or triples.
But when David Coulthard's like, well, you're famous, you're rich, you can go anywhere in the world, you could go to the beach, it's your holiday, what are you doing? Oh, we're sim racing.
Well, how many Cup drivers are running Monday Night Racing right now? A few.
What I was really impressed and was that the way he talks about sim racing. He has a certain respect for it that you don't always get from some of those guys racing on Monday nights, or they used to be in the Pro Series when the NASCAR drivers were doing it, and that's what I really liked about the interview. Just his respect for the thing, for the sim, and how highly he regards it as something that he can use to get better himself, and something that that he respects the other drivers for their ability. These guys are never going to be racing F1 with him, but he sees that they have some innate ability that may not ever transfer into real life, but he respects that in his own way.
Here, Mike, I'll make it this way. So he's in his off season, right? Well, what if you're a baseball player? What is a baseball player when they're done their last day of their baseball season? Do they just pack it up and wait till spring training? No, they find batting cages to go to. They find places to go and keep their skills up. They work out. They do all those things. It's just another level of him finding something else to do to keep his skills up and something to do on the you can work out so much. You can do simulator time at when they do sim work, they just do setups and stuff like that. They don't race other people. They don't race other things to know other people's tendencies, because imagine how many different looks at a track he's getting by racing people on the sim here. So it's just another way for his brain to get and his driving skills to get a little bit of exercise when he's on his downtime.
So when we were chatting about this video this week, I brought up his iRacing stats because I was curious. And that number that I always talk about when we have a guest on, what's your overall winning percentage? 54% for Max Verstappen. 54%. And then Adam Jocelyn's like, oh, I beat Max in a super late model race. So I guess that means Adam's helped him get to that number.
Now the question is there any context to that? We never asked Adam if there was context to was you can say you beat him. Did he wreck out? I'm not trying to downplay what Adam said, but there was no context to what he beating him.
No, he didn't.
What was his definition of beating him?
Well, I have beat who is it? Tony Kanaan a few times, but it was because he wrecked out.
You're a winner.
Yeah, over the holiday, I raced Dale Jr. once. He wrecked out, so I technically beat him.
We got something for him coming up soon on this.
Anyway, that was a great video by Max. I really respect this guy. He's serious about sim racing. He's just as serious about it as F1. It's not a game to him.
But I wonder if he still has fun while he's doing it.
Well, that's the next video here. And this is Will from Down Under, Will Ford at Boosted Media. He posted up a video of how to make iRacing way more fun. From etiquette to learning from faster drivers, and racing smarter to learning the limitations of the software itself. And kind of a fun watch to try to, hey, I don't want to get, dragged down. iRacing is getting stale. He gives you some ideas to kind of work around that. And etiquette's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think he could have renamed this "How to Make iRacing Less Frustrating," because a lot of his tips are really good tips for staying out of trouble. One of the things that I really liked that he was talking about was knowing the limitations of the software, not necessarily the other drivers. That netcode is a thing and it can happen. How to avoid putting yourself in a situation where netcode can affect your race. noticing that, realizing that other drivers might not have 3 monitors or VR where they can have a good field of view around them. Try to see how people are driving around you, whether you have an idea whether they might have issues with vision or anything like that, and all these things that he just goes through these things to make it less frustrating. Be that you're involved in less problems, less wrecks, and that's the kind of thing that really can make this sim very frustrating.
Yeah, we see the post in the Facebook groups all the time from the new guys that are super frustrated, just trying to get out a rookie or just got out a rookie and they can't finish a race, kind of thing, and they're just about ready to hang it up. And they're the ones who could really benefit from this video, I think, because, like you said, it gives you a lot of tips and tricks of how to mentally approach these things.
Well, David, me and you raced the other day at Le Mans there. That last race we raced, and racing with that one guy. Could you imagine if someone that was like really frustrated with that kind of drive racing that guy, what it would have been like for them behind the wheel? Like, I mean, me and you were chatting about it while we were racing, but there were some moments that he was really aggressive for a race that was an hour long,
and he didn't finish. I pitted as soon as we got in the window just to get away from him, and by the time I came out, I was about 10 seconds ahead of him. And that doesn't.
There you go.
Yeah, that doesn't always work undercutting because the car is always faster when it's lighter on fuel. So, but I just got out of. I was losing laps time to him getting stuck beside him.
Yeah, and having a couple laps by yourself that you can run your pace rather than someone else's helps it too.
All right, I think we got a Dale Jr. trifecta coming up.
Yeah, so who's ever excited about being wrecked out in iRacing? Well, most of the times you aren't. But Chris Palmer, he posted this video where he was actually excited that he got wrecked out because it was by Dale Earnhardt Jr. So if you're watching this race here, he's well behind Junior. Junior's up at the front. Junior has problems. He hits the wall, and carnage happens a little bit, and Junior peels off the wall right in front of him, and this guy just T-bones him. But and actually you can hear Dale's apology on the radio. He's saying, man, I'm so sorry about this or whatnot. But everybody seems to give Junior a pass that they don't always give other people when they're racing sim.
It's funny that he was in that 3 car too. Was it a league race or was it because it's kind of convenient that he is the 3 car.
Either league race or unofficial, where it just takes your number, whatever you pick.
Yeah, he was the guy who got wrecked out by Dale Jr. On the radio. He was just like, "Oh, don't you worry about it," kind of thing. I'm happy to be wrecked.
Exactly.
Well, here's my goal. Here's my new goal. My 2022 goal is to get wrecked by Dale Jr. and parlay it into getting him to come onto the show.
Smart.
Now, when I mentioned I raced him over the last couple of weeks, I forget what it was. I think it was Pickup Cup. It was Pickup Cup, and he got wrecked out in the first lap. But he was starting like 1 row ahead of me on the outside, and I tried to talk to him. But he apparently didn't have his ears on because he didn't respond.
Too much fame coming from you, Mike.
The intimidating Podfather.
He's our paparazzi. Is what.
I was trying to get an interview right there. It's like, I did that to Travis and Kyle Busch at the race the other day.
Mike Davis has got your name flagged so that Junior doesn't respond to anyone named Mike Ellis.
That's it. Because I've hit up Mike Davis. Trust me.
You have a better chance of getting an interview from Mike Joy than Mike Davis.
Oh, we haven't been too kind to Mike.
That's what I'm saying. Anyways, let's go to the next video here. We got, I another one of
How is there no yellow?
Junior's videos here where he's in the 87 car.
Oh my God, sorry about
And he's going at this is
No,
Daytona.
you're
They're
over,
going
Junior.
for he's going to go from 15th to 4th with 2 laps to go in the
I'll
Firecracker
make
400. I guess that was for the their E-Racer race, and
that.
what a carnage for 2 laps for him to drive through here. It's kind of crazy. Where he finally picks his spots, it kind of just opens up for him. It kind of reminds me of Days of Thunder style. But I mean,
I love
like,
how they do that replay where the camera rotates too.
he just found spots after spot where to put the car, and it just kept going and forward.
Well, his dad could see the air. I think he could see the smoke.
Wow, I mean, Junior had the same. I would have loved to see him and his dad race longer together to see what they would have done at restrictor plate races together. But that was that was something I was just thought about. But anyways, I mean, these cars are so much fun. We've run them a bunch here lately, but this track, these guys are all top-notch drivers too that he's up against, and to go from 15th to 4th is unbelievable.
Makes me think, watching this video, listen to you talk about Dale Earnhardt Sr. If he was still alive today, and we put him in iRacing to run this 87 car, what would he think of it?
I have a feeling he would be out on the ranch working with the cattle rather than running his sim
He's on the
rig.
tractor, right?
Yeah, he wouldn't have anything to do with the sim racing stuff.
Wasn't he the one who grabbed the laptop and threw it?
I think he was. I don't know if I might be getting it wrong here, but I think he was opposed to some of the technology that was coming in, even though that the sport was turning more into an engineering role over the years. For some of the stuff, I think from Andy Petrie, when Andrew Petrie was his crew chief, it was some of the radical stuff he wanted to do. Dale didn't want to do at the time, but I think if sim racing would be just something Dale would not even care for. It's like Mike and tracks being taken out of the sim.
If there was money involved, he might do it.
Maybe.
Somebody paid him to get in it. He probably would do it.
Well, we definitely know that the junior loves to run the iRacing, and this is another guy that's excited to suffer at the hands of Dale. We got a tweet from Phil at Ultra Racing Phil. Is my brother losing to Dale Jr. will now forever be memorialized at our grandparents' house, as Pop is a fan of both drivers. And they took a picture. They made a picture out of the iRacing post with, and it looks well produced too, because it's got that out of focus kind of look on the track, but the cars are in focus, and it's it's like a photo finish
At the line.
And it's in the filter time car. That's pretty iconic image there to have for sim racing.
And so Grandpa is holding up a really large framed picture, probably like 15 by 20 or something. And it's printed on there, and you can see that filter time car just edging out, the other guy, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a real close finish. That's got to be like 1,000th or something like that.
I wonder if it was enough to get the what do you call them? Those cards that you get for close finishes, like the stuff that you get 10 in a row races with IR bump certificate stuff. I wonder if he got it from that.
But this presents a great idea for artwork for my sim room, for my racing office. I've always thought about getting a large printed picture or framed picture to hang on the wall of some kind of racing something. And so a image from a win at a sim race is kind of a neat idea. Like maybe I could take an image of me winning the Southern 500 and then, blow it up and frame it kind of thing.
Here's an idea, Mike. This is something I was thinking when I saw what Kyle was able to do. Now, I wonder how big he can get those prints out. But if you wouldn't say you're always the man at Daytona. You were talking the other day about how many you have in a row at Daytona the last couple of years. What if you won at Daytona and got a big track size one where you could take a photo and put it in the center of it? It looks like the infield is the photo of your win, and have the outside of the track as the frame.
Oh yeah, I actually know a business. I think it's called qbhome.com that can print stuff like this. Like you can send her an image and she'll print it onto a board or laser etch it onto a board. So lots of good ideas.
Wonder if this guy could get that thing signed by Junior. That would be cool.
Yeah, I would. If I was him, I'd be in contact with Davis on the thing and try and get maybe mailed out and mailed back.
Yeah, and then when they contact Mike Davis, tell him Mike Ellis is.
Yeah,
waiting.
keep Mike Ellis off of the return address or name or anything. David, don't shake your head. Come on.
Okay, next up. Christmas has arrived in the Ellis household. Santa did come, and Santa delivered to me from Bob Pockras a tweet that NASCAR is going to ditch the 550 horsepower package in favor of the new 670 horsepower package. With 4-inch spoiler, I believe.
Hallelujah.
This is the first time a male is excited to go from lose 2 inches on something and be okay with it.
That's what she said. But wow. I didn't think they would do it. I had given up hope, I think. I mean,
I think there was enough negative talk between those speed weeks of how slow that car felt for those guys, and they just knew they couldn't just do whatever they wanted to and let the drivers talk bad about it.
So a couple questions come up. As you just said, Greg, it was the testing that the off-season testing they've done in the new car, and that's what led to the decision. But I want to ask, did having the next-gen car in iRacing for the last 8 months or however long factor into the decision and the negative discussion that may have occurred from that? Did that factor in?
I hope so. I mean, either way, whether it did or not, I think they made the right choice. But it wasn't just the iRacing community. The podcasts that cover the sport that we listen to quite a bit were harping on it with the old package, even that if you don't have to get off the throttle, it's just not good racing.
Right. You get a lot of driver innuendo, people saying stuff like that, right?
There wasn't innuendo. The guys on Door Bumper Clear didn't dodge it at all. They pretty much said it sucks.
So off-season iRacing in this car all of a sudden feels different. Brian, we talked about this a little bit. It feels like we're learning bad habits if we run this 550 package because it's going away.
Yeah, it makes me not want to run the 550 the way it is right now, because it's going to be a different car, and if you expect to, if you're so used to running it a certain way, and then you get into this new higher horsepower, lower downforce version of it, you might not be ready for it. I don't know. To me, right now, it doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense to run this next gen car with the outdated package on it. When hopefully, I'm assuming before the NIS season starts, they will have that all patched up and ready to go for us.
Yeah, I've already skipped out of all the races that we've had league-wise in the new car just because it doesn't interest me now to spend any time in that package. So definitely, I guess, we're already close to NIS anyway, 6 weeks away? So they'll probably wait until they've got all the rest of the stats before they update it instead of throwing out just a quick horsepower patch.
Don't they have an Atlanta test before the offseason? And Daytona? All these tests that they still got to do.
Yeah, there's a Phoenix test I was invited to, I want to say mid-January. And so, so that's the next question. When is iRacing going to update the car? I mean,
just before the clash or whatever.
Another question is, what else has changed besides the spoiler and the horsepower? I mean, that should be an easy fix, right? Or easy fix for iRacing.
The answer is we don't know.
Isn't there some of those some of the way the air goes around the vehicle because they're using? I guess I don't know if it changes anything with what they're doing to get the heat out of the car and stuff like that inside. I don't know if any of those ducts have to be added to the car visually. At least they've updated the number for the painting part of it, so you get the number where you want it on the car when you're racing in it. But there could be a bunch of changes all of a sudden coming, and it's going to be a mid-season change too, because it'll be before season 2, right? So
I wonder if they're not going to be allowed to put tape on and off this car, because as it is in iRacing right now, that's not a choice, even in open setup.
I don't think they know what. I would guess they would be able to put tape on it because it just doesn't make any sense not to. It's not. It's got a front valence that could do it.
The only other thing I'm going to throw out here for iRacing and NASCAR is I don't know what they're trying to do with the steering in this car. I mean, it is so light that you can't feel anything. It's a numb feeling in the steering when you drive this car. And I just wish they would just make it a little bit more like other race cars, because you can't feel anything. You can't feel the track. You can't feel that the bumps and the tire slip and all that stuff that we're used to.
I think the problem is we're so used to the old steering setups on these cars. They went modernized with what a road GT style steering rack would be on it. So
I don't think that's the right tree though, because I can feel the force feedback in a GT.
Yeah.
When I ran the short track in this car, I had to turn the thing to 100 and turn it all the way up in the sim just for it to feel normal. All right, I don't have to do that with a GT car.
That's way exaggerated.
But they have said that they have made changes to a lot of that from all the podcasts we listen to and stuff like that to get a different feel to it. So just something maybe iRacing hasn't updated for it, right?
I hope that's the case. I hope that there's feeling coming back to the steering. Because if we have that, if they can get the steering feeling a little bit decent and we have the higher horsepower, this might be fun. I mean, we might have fun this year.
Well, who knows? I don't know. David, Brian, Mike, all your personal cars probably nowadays are pretty much close to being electric steering. So, where at some point does that come in play at some point in a race car someday where you'd have no feel at all, where there's a connection between the front and the front tires and something, right?
I've tried to drive my sim with no force feedback before when my wheel fails, and it's hard. It's really hard to do.
And they say that it's preferred though, isn't it? A lot of the guys that race the higher tiers, they don't run force feedback.
Yeah, because they're not getting the bouncing of the wheel on the different variations of the track, and it slows them up a little bit so they can hold their wheel straight when they go over bumps.
Right.
But yeah, this is a pretty
that
cool
takes a
announcement.
knack, I think, to do that. You have to train yourself to do that or something.
Hit the next one, Brian.
All right, so this is a really cool story. So Dason Persley, he's a USAC midget race car driver, and man, he last summer at Arizona Speedway, he had a horrific crash. If you look it up, his name and Arizona Speedway, they have the YouTube video of this crash. It's just horrible. Well, he took some serious spinal cord injury in that race, and he's kind of trying to get bounced back. And the way he's done it is the WR1 racing simulators with Chad Wheeler and Jonathan Davis. They sent him a racing simulator. So he's climbing into this racing simulator as a way to get back to normal, get some racing in him again. I'm not sure if he'll ever be able to race again or not, but this will be really cool for him to do. And man, what a cool thing for WR1 racing simulators to do.
Yeah, great, to give that to this kid. He's wearing a neck brace, so obviously he's got some kind of problem around the neck area, and so his neck is stationary, but he's able to sit in the rig and looks like he's going to go iRacing.
Yeah, and he's a young kid. I think he was 17 when this crash happened, so he's a young kid. Apparently, he was an up-and-comer, too. Somebody who really showed a lot of potential. Man, it was just a terrible wreck, and it's really cool that he can start to get back to some kind of racing. Because the racer, racing might leave the racer, but it's never the other way around. You always want to be a racer whether you can do it or not, if you have that mentality.
That track is fun. I've been there a couple times. It's only about 20 minutes from where I live.
I did see that in one of the follow-up posts that his neck brace has been removed, so he's off of his neck brace now, which is a good sign.
All right, hoping for full recovery with him. We'll hopefully see him on the track.
Greg, looks like the next thing we have is a new iRacing commercial.
Yeah, I was wondering when they were going to update the old commercial. They was pretty good, but this one, once again, they are able to capture the essence of iRacing perfectly, and really enjoy that they've included some like sim race. They've actually included some of the streams of some of the people in the sim too, just to show their what it's all looked like from the community, from all of it. They've shown all the different types of cars and things like that, all the close racing, and it definitely brings out the racer feeling when you watch it. And my favorite part, and I don't know if you guys think the same thing, but when they show the 87 car crash and it lifts up and wrecks past the start finish line, it kind of just the blowover just makes me laugh, because it was such a huge thing when it first came out, and they made it look really well in this video.
It's a real fast-paced edit too, where they show 4 or 5 different shots a second, and they kind of highlight a lot of the new content. Like you get a shot of the bull at the Red Bull ring, and then you get a shot of Phoenix with the neon cactus, and a lot of the new content that just came out this year. So pretty cool to get highlights of that as well.
I thought it was noticeably missing the F1 car, though, right? I saw some of the other formulas, like the Formula 2000, I think it was, but I didn't see the F1. And you would have thought that there would be something.
I'm guessing it was made before that was released.
Probably.
But then again, Phoenix and all that's in. Oh no, Phoenix was released before this patch, was it not?
Yeah,
we had it for season, so.
Interesting.
Okay, next up is want to give up some iRating? Robbie Swan posted his thoughts and experiences of the asphalt sprint cars and why it may be the most overlooked car in the sim. Now, I happen to agree with this guy. If you've been a listener for a while, you know that more than a year ago, I experimented by running the asphalt sprint cars in season 3 and lost all my iRating. And here it is a year later, and I still have not recovered from that.
I saw this, the headline you posted for this topic, want to give up some iRating. I was like, I know Mike wrote that, because when he started this sprint car series, he was donating iRating like it was nobody's business. But part of the reason you did, Mike, is because they have such a dedicated small group of racers who do that so regularly that they're really good. And it's going to be hard to crack into that into those drivers when that's what their deal is. That's how they like to run.
You just hit the nail on the head. I mean, you show up at one of these races, you're going to finish last. I don't care who you are. These guys have it going on. Like you said, they're dedicated. They've been running these cars for a long time. They're really good at them. And if you think you're going to stroll in there and finish in the top 5 or something, you have another thing coming. And that's what I did. I strolled in there like I knew what I was doing, and I was lucky not to finish dead last. If I finished, second to dead last, that was a good race. But like you said, all my iRating went away. But anyway, we got this note from Robbie Swan, who had found the community in the series, and he's like, "Wow, this is gold," and he's right. It is gold. But I replied to Robbie. I told him, I really love what Jeffrey Stanton and those guys are doing over there, but I wish it was a league. I wish it was out of official, because then that messes me up for NIS and other series that I'm trying to do in official. But boy, if they had a league, man, I don't care if I finish dead last or second to dead last in Jeffrey Stanton's league of asphalt sprint cars. So I hope Jeffrey's listening. Make a league, dude.
Well, that's where you make an alt account.
Yeah.
Good point. They're 50% off if you want a new membership. So, but you make a great point. But this series runs like a league in the official under the official umbrella.
True.
Just because it's the same people all the time, every week. It seems like, right?
And same time and date. It's Tuesday nights that they run specifically, and they have other days, Thursdays and Sundays, that they run. And so they kind of meet for a high SOF kind of race. Because otherwise, if you show up for a sprint car race, there's nobody there. If you guys have looked, nobody runs this car.
But problem is, if they do a league, then nobody runs it even on those nights when they're running it. That might be the end of it.
True. Kind of maybe I should get the second account. That would work.
Well, the next thing we're going to hit I'm probably going to slaughter this pronunciation, but I'm just going to guess that it might actually be a Latin origin. iRacing acquires Orantes Games, which is the developer of a racing game, Drag, and they also have a proprietary game engine. It was announced on the 22nd of December that they acquired them. This company was originally founded by Christian and Thorsten Folkers in 2016, and they released an early access version of their game Drag in 2020 and on the digital game distribution site Steam. It's built upon a proprietary game engine, and this online racing game features high fidelity, next generation graphics, and advanced vehicle physics.
Wow.
Basically what iRacing needs to do to take the next step.
Is it?
I think this is more of for me looking at this, I think this has to do with a lot of visual stuff that they want to accomplish down the road with making the cars react to a track more realistically. I don't know if it's a full graphics overhaul as to maybe more of like a suspension movement overhaul and tire overhaul.
I think we don't have any idea, because I think sometimes these acquisitions are about acquiring the talent. The two developers, Christian and Thorsten Folkers. Maybe it's just to get them on the team. The only way to do it was to buy out their company. Maybe that's it. Or maybe it's like you said, maybe they're buying a new, game engine that they're going to turn into iRacing's new game engine. Who knows? I mean, it's hard to say.
Well,
but to have a brand new game engine, high fidelity graphics and advanced physics when they started this company in 2016 and we're only in 2021, that alone is pretty amazing. And when you look at the video that was provided of the gameplay, it looks pretty freaking cool.
I was going to say, Mike, imagine these guys working on, say, Mount Washington with their, their background, what they could have done with that type of, with their fidelity here, what it would maybe look like.
Right. Yeah, because they have a far off view. Like if you look at the video, you can see stuff close up in the distance, but you can see mountains and stuff in the far, far distance too.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of iRacing acquiring another company or game engine type of deal? I've never heard of that before.
First time.
And it looks like these guys maybe specialize in off-road racing, dirt racing. Could that mean that iRacing is looking into like those kind of like long endurance off-road races?
Point-to-point racing.
A lot of work. That's a lot of work to make an open map that something long, right? Like just look at the undertaking of the Nürburgring. Like trying to Nordschleife trying to do that like at 11 kilometers. Imagine trying to do one of those like Dakar type rally events or something like that.
Who knows? But I mean, it to me it just points that they're looking to revamp or expand in some way that they're not into right now.
Right. Is this a way of taking iRacing to console or some other thing? There's a million different things that this could be, and the announcement doesn't really tell us what the plan is. But the fact that they mention they now own the proprietary game engine, that rings a bell to me.
Well, and if you just look at the way that they've sculpted these two cars that we have on the screen here. Racing, like the suspension geometry and stuff like that, the way it works and shows on the track is awesome.
Yeah, and it apparently impressed somebody at iRacing. So that's really cool. I think this is a sign of good things, one way or the other.
It is, and they have money to spend. Obviously, that's another good sign.
True that too. Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the Pro Series. This is the Road to Pro Contender Series has wrapped up, and Colin Keister takes the championship. So he's going to be returning to the Coke Series next season. Also, he's going to be joined by another Elliott Sadler esports driver, Liam Brotherton. So, so I tried desperately. I tried for like 10 minutes to try to find the full results of this series. And I could not find them anywhere. They're not as easily accessible as they are for like your regular championship series. So I'd like to see more names of who's going to be in the Coke Series next year. I just wasn't able to track it all down. So I'm sure we'll be able to figure all that out soon enough. Definitely before the Coke Series starts. But yeah, so congratulations to Colin. He's going to be back in there with the other pro guys.
Yeah, there's other drivers that are new to the Coke Series besides who we just mentioned. But these were just a couple I put in there. I did watch the race. It was uneventful, I guess I'd say. But yeah, looking forward to Coke. Let's move on. Winter NIS kudos from Matt Busa. Coach Series driver Matt Busa showed off a video of his photo finish win in the 1987 Winter NIS Series. And he said, it's the most fun racing I've had in years. Check out this door-banging finish. Had 3% left on my right rear tire. Dale Jr. and iRacing did an amazing job on the updates to this car. Give it a try.
Yeah, Matt doesn't run NIS, but every time we've been in the Winter NIS, every time I've been on there, he's been running in the front of the top split.
Heck, when we ran that North Wilkesboro, he would have ran away with that by a couple laps if he didn't get injured or wrecked.
Yep.
had some fun in the winter NIS, Greg, this year.
I think those cars are just a blast because it's complete mechanical. It just there's nothing aerodynamic feel about it. It's all the heavy. You get the heavy steering. The car does what it wants to do on throttle, and it just feels. I don't know. There's just something to feel about it. It's just so much more fun.
It's a driver's car.
Yeah.
So the next thing we have is interesting because we've been in a league like similar to this. iRacing posted on their Twitter account a fun league idea, running the old Rally DP at oval tracks, and we've done something similar in the Radicals, right? It's kind of interesting sometimes taking the road cars and putting them on the ovals.
Oh yeah, Radicals at Darlington is a blast. It's actually faster down on the apron than it is up on the banking.
Everybody hates on ovals until they get on it with a road car or another car. Everybody's got to hate on it, and then we got to put all these different series on it.
Week 13 had the GT3s at ovals.
That was fun.
Yeah, and at Charlotte, it was actually kind of more like plate track racing, except you could actually bump draft. I mean, you could sit there and shove the car all the way around the corner, and because of the wing, it wouldn't spin out.
Am I the only one that misses these old DP cars? Like, they were a nice car to drive for before the LMPs came, but yeah, it'd be an interesting idea to have a series of that.
Yeah, I've run this kind of stuff and hosted a lot on weekends. There's that one guy, Chris McGuire. He puts up a lot of interesting combinations, and this is one of them.
What track is that?
I think they are at Kansas or Kentucky, maybe. Kentucky.
Yeah, it's Kentucky if it's got a green wall, I think, yeah.
Hashtag soon, Greg.
Yeah, so we got a video on the Mercedes AMG Twitter page. Obviously, they kind of are teasing their next gen for next year's car. I guess they did their first firing of their 2022 car, the W13. Said they're firing up the 22 F1 car for the first time. The W13 is alive. So kind of interesting to hear it start. Kind of odd because, hearing it start is basically the same as the old car, because it's basically the same old engines that are going to be in it. They're just a different. It's more people are more anticipated the outside of the car, which they won't show until probably February. Probably February.
Probably.
Well, I think they start up in March, so they usually are about a month ahead, just before they do their first testing. I think the biggest thing that I'm interested about these cars is just like NASCAR, they're going to a big 18-inch diameter rim, right? It'll be interesting to see these cars with a bigger rim.
So my question is, how much does iRacing have on paper already for this car? You know what I mean? Have they already started? What do they have in the can, so to speak? Or do they have anything yet at all?
I'm guessing this is probably a later on this year, like late this year, because they want that other one to breathe for a while, right?
Yeah, that could be.
Or they could treat it like the tracks and just upgrade it to the newest one.
Yeah, and just get rid of it so Mike doesn't like it. We'll just get rid of the older one.
That works.
Somebody's gonna want to go back and run that 2021 car specifically to have a historical race.
But it has to be at the old Phoenix too, right? And the old Watkins Glen that gets retired.
Well, and if we do have an open wheel championship with the Mercedes, which car are they going to use? I mean, do they wait till later in the year until the other car is released and then do it with that one?
I'm guessing that's a 2023 championship car, but who knows if they even go to this F1 car as a championship car. I mean, they've had different series. They've had other cars they could have done championship series with, but they chose to do it in the Porsche, pretty much the Porsche series because Porsche paid for it, right? Unless I would guess they would go to the Mercedes if Mercedes was going to throw some money at it.
Yeah, I think it's about money, right? I mean, we had a sponsor for the Dallara Jet Car series. It was the Force Dynamics.
I still love that name that you gave it.
It's stuck. I'm sorry.
I kind of really think that they're going to get a big sponsor if they do a championship series with this car. I mean, it's
You
just
think so? Logitech.
yeah, it's going to get a big money sponsor. I'm almost certain of that.
I'm wondering if at some point, like, do you think at any point down the road, do you think this car gets a competitor car in iRacing? Like another, does Red Bull let you scan Red Bull and have Red Bull versus Mercedes on here or something like that?
I mean, if I was the owner of one of those other teams, yeah, I mean, Mercedes has one up on them now. They have a car in iRacing and I don't. Why isn't my car in iRacing,
See, I hear that there's also a possibility of Audi VW buying one of the teams. I wonder if they, a big manufacturer, like another big company manufacturer that's a car manufacturer, gets a something scan like that. Whereas like Aston Martin's got theirs as well. Like something where it's not like a team based, it's more like manufacturer based, like Mercedes.
Right.
Because Red Bull's just an energy drink that throws billions and billions of dollars at a car, at 4 cars technically that make them a ton of money.
All right, guys. Next up, it's good to be the king because Keegan Leahy, who just won the Coke Series championships, he's still getting swag for his championship win. He just posted on Twitter a picture of this new Coca-Cola cooler that showed up at his doorstep. So yeah, that's a pretty good deal. Now it's an old school looking Coca-Cola cooler, but it's actually a Yeti 45 Tundra, which is retails at $300, and that's for the basic one. This Coca-Cola theme one probably would go even more than that. So that's a nice little gig you got there.
That is nice. $300 cooler. Wow. My wife wants one of those so bad too.
Yeah, I didn't even look at the tag on his picture where it says Yeti Tundra 45, and I was like, oh, that's a Yeti. I know that's expensive, so I looked it up. Man, that's a $300 retail. So man, that's cool. Keegan Leahy, he deserves it.
Holy crap! It's $400 Canadian.
They sell like a lunchbox, a Yeti lunchbox. It's like $80 or something.
Well,
What are you paying for with Yeti?
I know. The Yeti.
Ice that doesn't melt for 5
You get the
days.
sticker. You get the sticker to put on the back of your Suburban.
We have that. It's called winter. Ice that doesn't melt for 6 months.
So whenever you need ice for your soda, you just go out and with a chisel.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to go up there. That snow's no good, especially the yellow stuff.
Is this another hashtag soon?
Well, they've taken a little bit more than a chisel actually to this track. It looks like they're changing Spa quite a bit. There's been a concern of a lot of severe accidents at Blanchimont for one, and so they're extending some of the runoff areas. They, for example, at the source, they're making that one a little bit bigger. They're changing some of the runoff areas back to gravel, all in the name of safety. And also, I think they're wanting to have bikes there, and so they're being required to make these changes to be certified to run the bikes.
Wow, if the bikes go up over on Rouge, they ain't coming. They're gonna end up in the crowd on the far end, going over that top part. So it's obviously got to be more straight. Obviously they're gonna be losing the full arch at the top of the hill.
They're not changing the track; they're just changing the runoffs.
It'll be interesting to see. I wonder if this requires a scan for it.
That's what I was just about to say. Rescan, or can they just do it off pictures and stuff?
Well, I'm sure they're not going to travel to do it, so maybe it will have to be done off of drawings or something, right?
Or they can pay somebody to scan it.
True.
Okay, I only say this in half jest. If they do a rescan, do we keep the old spa? Because it's a classic course, you know? I mean, that's
True.
a classic track. Come on,
Mike wants to hoard as many tracks in
there
his
is-
list as he can.
Especially if it's a rescan, yeah, I think so, because this would be so much of a drastic change. Whereas the Glen was just changing the runoffs, and in this case, yeah, they're just changing the runoffs too. But
This could just
these runoffs you could use a
was
lot.
The first picture, though, is grandstands. They're actually putting in a major grandstands there.
yeah, because that's a straight you want to have, be watching from. That's why they're putting that in, right? To what you're saying there, sorry, Brian, I'm still chuckling at that, but
come on.
I would think they just add another tab, so it would be like like classic spa, because if it's only this one area that they're changing, like it doesn't really have to. I don't know. It's tough because if they're remodeling different parts of the track with different things on the outside, it's a whole new track. Whereas, when you're racing like something like Watkins Glen, it's like adding the boot and things like that. It's not like it's something that's there, but they just changed the barriers, right? It's a little bit different when, you're adding more things to the outside of the track visually, right?
But if the track surface isn't changing, I would think you could do it with photos.
You could, if they're all they're doing is, well, they're making some of the runoffs a little bit wider and just changing it back to gravel, so they could do it with the old scan.
All right, moving on.
We're gonna do a poem. It looks like, huh? And we're all color coded, but we don't know who's which color.
Well, I'll start off. This is in the spirit of the holiday. We have a song, or a poem, as David would call it, by Clement Clark Moore, called "'Twas the Racing Sim Before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through my nest not a sim was playing, not even Wreckfest. The wheelbases were all left turned off and bare, in hopes that a new wheel soon would be there.
It's probably time to retire to my bed, but ideas for setup tweaks are dancing in my head. As Mama looks at statements, her finger does tap. You remind her it came out of a bonus. I promise, no cap.
From force feedback clipping, those arose such the clatter. I hit the escape key to see what was the matter. Into the settings, my cursor flew like a flash. I would get a DD if I only had the cash.
I mapped an ECU button to change on the go. What that actually does, I only pretend to know. When what to my sim racing eye should appear, a heavy square box, but what type is not yet clear.
A new Simucube wheel sure would be slick, or a DD2 base. Those things are sick. But my expectations will still need to be tame, because my gift might actually be something lame.
With new gear across the finish line, I would fly. Up high on my podium to the rookies, I'd say bye. I'd feel so cool with gear shiny and new. Come to think of it, I might need racing gloves too.
Thinking of tin tops, yes, cars with a roof. I can't focus on dinner, my attention is aloof. Dreaming of my RSR driving round and round, there is nothing better than the sweet Porsche sound.
A nice racing boot would look nice on this foot. But if none are coming, then my socks will stay put. On Boxing Day, the Nordschleifer I'll attack, using cars I bought in a down DLC pack.
Driving a stick shift will someday be merry, but learning to blip shift sure can be scary. What's the best looking sim car? I do not know. but I definitely isn't the GT4 Expo.
Simming an an F1 car can be so much work. Each time it oversteers, the steering gets a jerk. That's what she said. My next piece of sim gear, who really knows? With that said, I'll bring this poem to a close.
May your new sim gear be clean as a whistle. May your car on track be fast as a missile. May your holiday sim racing be full of delight. Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Bravo. Pretty good. I got a couple chuckles out of that.
So that was a poem written by Clement Clark Moore. So he posted this in a website, and Mike found it and thought it was pretty cool. So thank you, Clement. It was very cool.
All right. Brian, what 2021 sim racing accomplishment are you most proud of? Now, I want to take a quick guess before you speak. I think it might have happened in the last few days. Am I right?
That's actually a close call because
I forgot about
this
your
doesn't
son.
count. I really think if since I didn't race it with my son, you'd be right. But as far as the joy that I got, it was watching my son win one of the races in that kids race that he did.
Okay. I forgot about that, but yeah, that was a special moment for sure. David, what do you got?
Probably taking a top split win in NIS.
That was big.
Huge.
Big for our team. I think that's a first for this team. Greg?
For 2021, I think I have two, but it's hard to pick between the two. My first one that comes to mind is obviously the championship in the league race for Fast Track, but I still think I'm the accomplishment of racing for second place last year, or in the early on in the year for the Rolex 24, racing those NASCAR drivers and IndyCar drivers all night was probably one of the best and most fun I've had on the sim in a long time. So I think that's a big accomplishment for me. I think I remember Daytona more than anything.
Yeah, when the NASCAR drivers are watching Greg heck this line, trying to figure out how he's so fast, yeah, that's saying something.
Yeah, if you're at a New Year's Eve party and you're talking to your buddies, and what story are you going to tell them about iRacing first? That's going to be it, right?
If I had friends to go anywhere, we weren't locked in our homes.
Good point.
So I won Daytona 500, Richmond, and the Southern 500. So I got to say the Southern 500. But Tony Groves and I were talking this week about Daytona. And I reminded Tony, I mean, he won this year, and that's obviously his moment. But he's trying to go back to back. And then I realized I'm actually going for 4 in a row. So this year was 3 in a row. And so this 2022 Daytona 500 will be 4 in a row. I've actually won 5. I think it was 2016. I didn't win 2017, but I won 2018, 2019, 2020. It was the last 3 years, and then I missed a year, and that was the year before. So I guess I said it wrong, but yeah. So I'm looking for 4 in a row this year, and so wow, I can't believe it. So good luck to Tony Groves on his back-to-back, and maybe he can get to 4 in a row.
So Greg, tell us about this Williams Esport Lounge.
So this wasn't that company that was building one, was it? That we covered on here. Was it Williams that was building one?
Apex.
Okay, so this is a different one. Okay, so this esports for the Williams Esport Lounge, and they really, really have the word lounge great there, because some of these pictures of the setup that they have is unbelievable. Like, could you imagine having, what is there, there's eight rigs to maybe 10 rigs all sitting in front, or facing each other, with all the units in the center, and then the room is just filled with, there's hardware and helmets on the back wall. There's it looks like there's another area like a race control. It reminds me of a race control, doesn't it? Where they have a bar stool area.
Kind of a bar area.
Yeah, and then their lounge area is just awesome, and it looks like they have obviously seating there for like a theater seating to watch some esports stuff too. So awesome setup. I'm sorry, I'm jealous. That's the ultimate place to go out and hang, don't you guys think?
Well, the only thing I wonder though is, are those really single monitor setups?
They are, and they're play seat rigs with the thing in between your legs.
Yeah, that's the Williams branded ones too, right?
Yeah. I like the way that they did it though. 5 on one side, 5 on the other, facing each other, and there's a big wood container thing in the middle in between them that obviously holds all the computers and stuff.
It's so clean looking because they're all on platforms. They have a single, it looks like obviously a single set of wires that comes from the platform to the unit that runs obviously runs everything in the center. I mean, could you imagine with all this stuff running at the same time, the heat that room would produce? That must have one hell of a HVAC system just to get the heat out of there.
You can see the vents in the roof above. It looks like they are beefed up AC unit.
I'm just at awe with that lounge area where you can just sit. You got that huge trophy case, and then the sitting area.
Pretty cool. I didn't know what to think about this one, David.
Well, it can be done. You can race F1 or race any car, I guess, with a controller. And AJ Henderson posted a video of it. He didn't show the whole race. It's clipped down to about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. But if you go through, he shows a couple of mistakes. And it's doable, but I just can't imagine how much harder it is to be precise with a controller compared to better equipment.
The problem with the controller, David, is the input on the steering is to try and get it. It's more of a jerky movement than a smooth movement, right?
Well, you don't have anything resisting the turn at all. You don't, and you're actually having to hold it in the air as well, right? It's not even on. So I mean, cool, but not interesting to me.
I know there's things that you can get. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's those adapters that you can put on like these controllers that make it look like a steering wheel, but that attaches to the front of it. You can just, it's like a knob to turn as a steering wheel, but I just don't. From what Tony said, that he 3D printed one of them for a controller, and it just didn't make it feel like a steering wheel no matter what.
So I want to point out the overlay in the bottom left. He's got an overlay that shows the controller and his inputs on the controller, which is kind of interesting. He's not too bad with the controller. Like David said, he does make some mistakes and stuff. But I tell you what, there's people out there like my old friend Carlos Fonseca, who used to be on this podcast for a very long time. He has disabilities, and he actually runs with a controller because of that. He can't use a wheel and pedals. And so, and he is very good on iRacing. His iRating is probably around 4,000 or 5,000. So he's really good, and he runs a controller.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can definitely be done. I think the problem is that the learning curve is too steep. And if people do it for the first time or don't really put a lot of effort into it, you make too many mistakes.
Right, and Carlos Fonseca, he's been using the controller his whole life because that's all he can use because of his disability. So, and so, yeah, I mean, you get really good after a while, I presume.
All right, Brian, it's time for some Word of Outlaws.
Yeah, so the World of Outlaws were actually off the week before last, just like we were, but they were back up on Monday night racing at Knoxville for week 6. So we'll just hit this one pretty quick this week. Alex Bergeron, he actually wins the qualifying, so he starts on the pole in Heat 1. He wins the Heat 1, and he leads all the laps of the feature. So he pretty much dominated, but not really, because he was actually had like a 2-second lead in front of Hayden Carwell with like just about a handful of laps to go, and he ran him down in no time. And there was actually a pretty big incident where Alex came out of one of the turns, and Hayden Carwell was running the high line and tried to go around him, and he just pinched him in the wall, and Cardwell went flying. So
Dang.
I think there was some bad blood on after that one, because didn't look very pretty on the camera. In the post race interview, Alex Bergeron said that, man, I'm sorry, I apologize. He said he didn't see him come up that road, that side of him. So, but he does take the win, and with that win, he takes over the points lead again. So he had a real bad week 2 weeks ago when he lost connection and wound up finishing halfway down almost to the end of the field. So he's worked his way back with some good luck with some of the other drivers, because the leader of the series coming into this race was Cameron Merriman, and man, he had a terrible heat race, didn't make the feature, won his consolation race, started at the very back of the field. He worked his way up to midway pack, which was pretty impressive, but it wasn't enough. You get points for winning the heat race, and he lost a lot of points in the feature. And that was enough for Alex Bergeron to take a 6-point lead after week 6, heading into Cedar Lake Speedway. So one quick other story I want to tell you guys about this race is the driver who was 4th in standings going into this race. His name is a young kid named Logan Rumsey. He was 4th in points, and he actually did this race from a hotel room, an Airbnb in Tulsa, because he's getting ready to race the Tulsa shootouts where the Chili Bowls run. So he actually took some sim equipment with him on the road to do this race from a hotel room, basically. It didn't work out real well for him. He didn't qualify for the feature and didn't qualify in the consolation race. I can't imagine, just trying to set something in a hotel and being as comfortable and fast as you are in your main rig at home. So that was really cool that he attempted to do that, and good luck to him in the Tulsa shootout where the Chili Bowls run.
Yep. I've been watching social media. Haley Deegan is running. Kyle Busch, Brexton Busch, of course, Christopher Bell. I think Chris Bell has been struggling a bit this week so far.
Larson back again? He's got to be.
He must be there. I didn't see him, though, yet.
So after that, I'll actually go to the next topic, which is the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals. That's the last of the special events of the calendar year for iRacing, and the win goes to Ethan Uyi. He's the champion for 2021. It was a really close race with actually Logan Rumsey, the gentleman, the young guy who I was just talking to you about. He actually won the race last year, and he was in second place, trying to run him down, and made some contact with on the last lap to try to make a desperation move to try to get the win, and it spun himself out. So it was a real close race, actually, a real tight finish. And congratulations to Ethan Uyi. And Logan Rumsey now, he's getting ready to do the Tulsa shootout, and he's probably got thousands and thousands of laps on this virtual track. And if it's anything like last year, they actually formed the real track to match the iRacing track when they were having problems earlier in the week. So good luck to Logan for that, and let's see how well iRacing can come through with to help him out in this race.
I'd have to speculate that this year so they don't have a repeat of last year, that they probably used the iRacing blueprints, so to speak, from the beginning.
Yeah, that's a very possible. Yeah.
Let's get into special events. We got the 6 hours of Daytona for diabetes on January 7th, 2022. We're just under 2 weeks away from Freaky Fast Broadcasting. They're going to be hosting this charity event to help raise awareness and hopefully donations for juvenile type 1 diabetes. This event will be a 6-hour endurance race at Daytona with the same cars from the official 24-hour. It'll be January 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern. Additional information can be found at the links below. We are at 30 of the 60 possible teams signed up with 13 days before the race. So we got links on the script, or go find Freaky Fast Broadcasting on the Facebook.
You only have till the 1st of, or no, the 6th. Oh, so it says the 6th. Okay, you got till the 6th to still sign up.
The next special event coming up is the first event on the 2022 calendar for iRacing. It's the iRacing Roar. It's coming in 2022. It's the solo endurance event that kicks off the special events. It's 2.5 or 2.4 hours, and it features the GT4s, the touring cars, and the Global MX-5. And it'll be the 14th through the 16th of January.
I definitely would be trying that one just to try out the touring cars there.
And Greg, it looks like you got the other biggie.
So we got the official word here of the iRacing Daytona 24-hour special event. So this will be on the 21st to the 23rd weekend. Time slots are pretty much the same as always for the endurance race. So Friday night at 2200 GMT, Saturday at 7 o'clock in the morning GMT, Saturday at noon GMT, and Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon GMT. Bring up some more details here. Obviously, it's going to be the IMSA cars like they normally have for here. So it's the Dallara LMP2. I got the GTD as they're calling them, the Audi R8, the BMW M4, Ferrari 488 Evo, Lamborghini GT3, the McLaren MP4 12C GT3, Mercedes GT3, and then the the Porsche 911 GT3. Stop and goes are after 100 incidents, and then 20 after that. There's no limit for the DQ, and the field size are 50. So it'll be good. Warm up is 30 minutes before the race, and an 8-minute qualifying for 2 laps.
So, Team Tifosi, I mean, what do we have? We started planning a little bit. David, what car and who do you got on your lineup so far?
Well, Team Real Fun will have, we've got either 4 or 5 drivers, depending on if...
It's realistic fun. We need to have realistic fun.
It depends on if Tom has to work casino that weekend or not. But yeah, we'll run the LMP2, and it's going to be all Tifosi guys this time, I think. Oh, we're bringing in a guest.
Lucky.
Yeah, we're bringing in a lucky guest.
Our lucky charm.
Okay. And then we'll have a second car, Team Fun, which I think, what did Rochette say? The Ferrari Evo?
Yeah, he did.
David, they're trying to get Flowers out of retirement for that, aren't they?
So I might take a
They need someone to start it.
I did a stint last year in that car, so I'll probably do a couple stints, hopefully. All right, the last event is iRacers Lounge New Year's Bash. We're going to host up on New Year's Eve a bunch of short races and host it. So far, we're going to have Gen 5 ARCA COT Xfinity 20-lapper at Old Daytona. Then we're going to have a 20-lapper figure 8 with some multi-class cars, maybe the Pro Truck. We also talked about maybe Pro Mazda at Michigan, and we talked about Radicals at Darlington.
I guess what we really should have titled this is the iRacers Lounge Aftermath New Year's Bash, because it's both shows.
Yeah, Tony Rochette's kind of putting it together.
Or the Aftermath iRacers Lounge New Year's Bash.
That's kind of his role. He comes up with the special events that all the hosted stuff now.
Herd the cats, as they call it. Okay, so Errol, we want the listeners to join us. So New Year's Eve, guys, come out, find us in hosted. I think Tony Rochette will be the host. It'll be, we'll have iRacers Lounge listed in the description, so you can do a search for it. But these are going to be short races. We're going to do them one after another and kill a couple hours and have some fun as a group. And we want to do it with you listeners. So let's fill the rooms, guys, and have fun. Okay, housekeeping. Don't forget that Aftermath podcast. I think they got a recording coming up this weekend, I hope. And don't forget our website at the iRacersLounge.com. And we are on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Kicking off the hardware, we're going to start out with a Toyo Sim company review. And just taking a look at the site, the featured item on our page is a handbrake. But when I looked at the site, I actually liked looking at the shifters and was looking at this cover design for the Max H pattern shifter and noticed that there's kind of just a nice little cut in the design that makes you less likely to accidentally shift from third to second. Or at least I hope it would, the way it's shaped there.
Yeah, this is a fascinating website, toyosim.com. I love the Sim Racing window net for only $36. But you can get it in blue, red, or black. And it's as I described, a Sim Racing window net. It doesn't really have a way of installing it, so to speak, but yeah.
Brian will buy it and find somehow how to get it on his rig.
Perfect for VR.
It needs to be flapping in the wind, right, Brian? In the wind simulator?
Yeah, I can make it flap if I turn it up real high.
I guess if David got it, it would just automatically disconnect whenever it wanted to.
It would fall on my knee.
Yeah, but they got shifters, handbrakes, shifter knobs, belts. And I think these are, I'm not sure, but I think it's from China. And I think I found this on a Facebook page, and they were talking about, how is the quality on these handbrakes, because they are, really cheap. Like the one that's called the RASTP Sim Racing handbrake is from only $29. I mean, you can get these things very inexpensive.
It's actually out of Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, it is.
It's kind of.
It says free shipping too.
It's kind of funny that we see a lot of these shift or handbrake things for the PC. Obviously, we don't use a lot of it for sim racing, for iRacing, but there are some dedicated sims that just have drifting and need these things for it. So, is it a need for iRacing sim? No, but is it a need for other sims? It's definitely covered for that, right?
Yeah.
It's used in Rallycross, isn't it?
If I remember correctly, a lot of people say don't use it like crazy.
Right, the fast guys in rally don't use it.
I just use you can just use the Fanatec shifter and put it in sequential and do it. That's what I always do.
Now, in the interest of time, we're going to jump around.
Jump around.
I want to cover this one. We got an email from a listener, Scott Valles, about the butt kicker. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about his email and my response to it, and then get your guys' input as well. he said, if you haven't tried it yet, you should try David Tucker's LFE shaker implementation instead of SimHub, is what he's referring to. It has multiple advantages over SimHub. The key features of David's LFE are delay, less delay. He's saying the third-party software like SimHub has to use a iRacing SDK, which only updates on a periodical timer. And then access to internal physics data, meaning the LFE has access to important tire slip data that is never exported via the SDK. And so he's basically saying it's better to not use the SimHub. So what do you guys think?
I haven't tried SimHub, but the LFE works just fine for me.
My only question would be, does it support multiple butt kickers? Because I'm running with multiple butt kickers, and I don't know if there's separate channels. See, that's the thing that I would have a problem with, is because, I like to have, with SimHub you can set a left side, a right side, rear, left side, rear, front, right, so you can get different effects on different parts of the car. And so with a single output like this, you don't get that kind of individualized feedback.
So basically, the sim right now as is, it only has a single operation, and then you have to go a third party if you want to do what you're saying there, Brian.
Or what I'm doing, which I'm doing something a little unique, because I got 2 speakers behind my triples, but I also have a living room subwoofer on the ground in front. And my LFE is actually feeding that subwoofer, okay, from the sims to the sub. And that's part of my audio. I mean, it's not a shake, it's audio that I'm getting from that. And I know it's not supposed to be used that way, but I've used it that way since he put it out. And I actually got it tuned where I really like the sound of it, because I really turned it up loud. And then I put the butt kicker on SimHub with a separate sound card, so the butt kicker would have the same effect if I turn my master volume up or down. And that's the problem I have using the LFE. As you turn your volume up and down, it turns the LFE up and down with it. And so when my wife goes to bed and I got to turn everything down so she can sleep, I couldn't feel the butt kicker anymore. So that's the reason I went with SimHub. That's the reason I went with a separate sound card. So the butt kicker would still work at 100%, even though the volume is really soft in the room.
My last question about that is, it doesn't seem like it, but SimHub has a free version, and then they have a pay version, which supposedly is faster for. I don't know if that's just faster for like your readouts on your screen and stuff like that or not. I don't know if that affects the LFE signals or not, but it'd just be a question I'm not sure about.
And I'm running the free version, and honestly, I have not even noticed any latency. Now, it could be that, I don't recognize it, but I haven't noticed.
Or you don't know the difference because you hadn't had it directly.
Right.
It's interesting. It would be something I would try if I didn't have that issue with the multiple outputs.
Okay, so as far as the tire slip, and I'm missing that in the butt kicker, I mean, that is a little bit of a concern, but overall, I'm very pleased with how the butt kicker turned out. And I'm not thinking I'm going to change how it's wired.
I thought SimHub has an output that's supposedly for slips, but I don't know if it's software generated or if it's directly from the sim, like he's saying that.
Well, he's saying there's a more advanced data that's not being shared. So there's a part where if it did get shared, it would give them to be too much knowledge having it. It would, and they're doing it so it doesn't. There's no cheating involved.
Gotcha. Because you could use that signal to do a bunch of other things, not just vibration effects, to let you know that you might be losing contact, losing grip, which makes sense. So it's hard to say.
Okay, so and then one more hardware, David. Let's talk about the BMW wheel.
All right, Fanatec has revealed it. It's the new M4 GT3 Podium Hub, which it's already sold out at minutes after its introduction.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it sold out so quick. I mean, I want. Did anyone have any idea how many there were?
Interesting to see what the amount was, because at that price, that's kind of crazy to be sold out of it.
Yeah, see, I would get this before I would get the Bentley. I think, I don't know. I like how it looks better. Plus, I don't care. Well, I don't need a display. It's a nice layout. All the thumb buttons are pretty easy to reach. It's got 3 rotaries and 2 rotaries up thumb rotaries, and it looks like you have. I can't tell if its pedals are 2 or 3 on the back. Oh, yep, 3. Nope, just 2.
I don't know.
But it's got shifting and analog, but no third. But it does have the analog pedals down at the bottom for like launching.
David, do you think with because you have the F1, or not the F1, but the road version that it's pretty much like this setup. I mean, it's obviously not BMW branded, but that runs what, 400? I know yours was, you got it with
300.
What you're doing. It's like $300. Like, does this really worth an extra $1,000?
No.
That's the thing I don't get. I mean, you're paying for the BMW logo, but I can't justify that kind of price tag. Can you?
But
no.
If you're going to pay that kind of money, wouldn't you pick Cube Control?
There's a lot of different.
Gomez.
Yes.
Gomez, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm getting something, it's going to have a display in it then, right?
Would the Gomez work on a Podium Hub or Podium wheelbase?
I think they all do at some point,
Yeah,
don't they?
there's ways to make that work, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so like I said, I'm liking the Bentley one because I like that cool round display thing, gyroscope display thing in the middle. Kind of unique look to it. So I don't know if I have the money to do it, but we'll see.
I honestly think, Mike, for the amount of time you spend on road, you'd just be better off to end up buying what David has as a road rim for yourself instead of. I know you want the glitz and the glamour of that Bentley thing. I just don't think it'll give you anything extra for the extra price that's going to cost you.
Just make sure you get the one with the advanced pedal module so that you can do the launch control easier.
I was trying to talk somebody into the team in buying a new wheel and then selling me their old one.
Well, that's about as good as when you try to talk us into pitting when we shouldn't.
Now, to wrap up hardware, let's talk about your recent purchase, David. Let's dig into that a little bit.
Well, all right, I got 2. My mount for my butt kicker broke. Like the bolt literally just broke in half or towards the end. And it wasn't terrible. I mean, it broke and it kept rotating as well because, it was screwed down. So I just went to Lowe's and just wandered the store until something came to me. And I ended up in the garage section and actually bought a handle. I posted a picture of it. We actually should put it on the script. I bought just a fencing handle, like for opening a fence door. And it has mounting holes, and I mounted that onto the rig, and it was the right thickness to mount the butt kicker on, and it holds it kind of oriented differently, and it stays put, and it actually is transferring a lot more of the vibration than the other way was. So that was a very good DIY solution. And then I did finally give in after testing everything, including a different motherboard, and retired the Rift S, and now have a Reverb G2. And I've got it working. Most things on it I like better. The big drawback is that sweet spot zone that you can't. So I had to move my my relative into the middle instead of off to the side, because when it was off to the side, it was out of focus. So it's like sitting halfway on my mirror. But a couple of features I really do like about it. Of course, it doesn't lose tracking every other race, but I can actually have the JRT overlay in the windshield now, because it actually will take overlays that have transparencies and keep the transparency. So I can have the flashing arrows in the windshield instead of down low out of the way.
reverb, and that fixed the problem. So you had tried everything, but that was what the fix was. It was the riff that was the problem, right?
Yeah, either the cable or the headset, one of the two. So it's in the closet up on a shelf as a backup, as an emergency backup.
All right, and then Greg, you're thinking about hardware. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm in the early stages of going through figuring out a new rig for myself, just because I want to get a new seat and everything. And I bought this back in. Like, I've been running a play seat almost 5 years now, and I think it's time to switch over to something more sturdy and something better equipped for having a keyboard stand, having a mouse tray, everything attached to it that I don't have to, something that makes more sense for myself. Now that I have the studio set up, I want to make sure that the racing rig's different. So I've been looking into Advanced Sim Racings here in Canada to go from them, because it's a little bit cheaper to buy from Canada if I don't have to pay the U.S. cost, because I pay my tax plus the duty fees and everything like that and all that stuff on it. It's just astronomical to ship it here. So I'll go through this site and they have free shipping, so it shouldn't be too bad. Gonna be dealing or getting some help from Mike. You sent me some stuff on what some stuff to look for and what I need, and Bobby and I are gonna look into it. I just talked to him a little bit earlier about getting together with him on TeamSpeak here at some point this weekend or next weekend and go through some stuff. I got to be in contact with that actual site too and just ask some questions to them too about some of their stuff.
I mean, Advanced Sim Racing was a close second or third on my choice of rig. With the ASR6 with the pretty colors. You were kind of looking at the ASR4 because you're not worried about the color, and that's a good affordable choice. But don't forget that Grid Engineering is out of Canada. They sell SimLab, so if you want SimLab, you can get it via Canada through Grid Engineering.
Yeah, they're sold out right now. I would love to get a SimLabs, but they're sold out too, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Everything it was showing, I'm going to be in contact with both sites just to ask some questions on stuff. What was the site that you said you emailed and they said they put something up after you said it was out of something, out of stock?
Oh, it was Grid Engineering. Like when I bought, the rig was available, but like the monitor mount or something wasn't. So I emailed them like, hey, I'm about ready to spend a bunch of money, and you have this one thing out of stock, but I need it. And he's like, oh, well, I'll make it where it's not out of stock, and you go ahead and buy it, and I'll figure out a way to get it to you. So, yeah, they worked with me even though it was out of stock, and I was able to get what I needed.
I wonder if they just sent their supplier to send it straight from you to you, right, instead of coming to them.
Drop shift or something. Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Anyways, yeah, I'm going to be in contact.
Like SimLab ship it directly or something.
Yeah, I'll definitely be in contact with both of them. Just send them some inquiries and some certain things and see, if the SimLabs one, like I'm really actually interested in the SimLabs one, if they're going to be in stock anytime soon.
It might not hurt to touch base and just get a verbal, hey, when are you going to have stock and that kind of thing? Because, like you said, if you prefer the SimLab, that was my first choice. It was David's choice too, and a few other people on our team.
I mean, I'm in no rush. I mean, my birthday's coming up this month. I guess my wife owes me a little bit of something here, so we'll see if I can swing it by of getting a new rig here.
All right, let's jump to results. Now, with the holiday and taking the week off, I didn't record a lot of results, but let's go through what we do have. Let's talk winter NIS, North Wilkesboro, P15. I was fast. I was able to move forward, and I eventually took the lead and led some laps. I was involved in several of the cautions, though, and my incident count was high. 30 to go. I did my last stop for tires while others stayed out. As I was coming back up through the field with about 10 to go, I got wrecked one more time and had to do a drive-through penalty. Ugh. Greg, what'd you get?
I raced a lot of LMP ones with David this week. I think that's the most I've
I thought you
raced.
ran North Wilkesboro, right?
I haven't. No, we ran North Wilkesboro 2 weeks ago, didn't it? It was probably over 2 weeks ago, right?
Well,
Yeah,
see,
but
we,
yeah.
remember, we have 2 weeks.
That's true. That's true. I forgot it. We forgot didn't have us. I think I finished sixth in that race, fifth or sixth in that race, and I don't know. I had the worst luck. It was the worst luck for the first little while of that race. I couldn't get back on the lead lap. I got lapped down and just couldn't get it back, and then got lucky near the end. I was racing David a lot for the lucky dog. And I don't know, did you get yours back eventually?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Were we in the same race this? All you put down was please on the results.
I didn't do it. I hadn't put anything in the results.
Yeah, David, you got P8 though.
Yeah, I did run well. I had early trouble on the first green flag stop. Sim racing apps did not beep, and I blasted right through and lost a lap as a result. And then I got caught up in a wreck. Or no, yeah, I lost it again after getting caught up in a wreck, got it back again, and then raced back up to 8th.
All right, and I had fun with that North Wilkesboro.
I ran on Sunday as well and came in P5, same track.
That was the one. That was the one that we had a lot of tire wear.
Well, the car has a lot of tire wear, yeah.
No, but I mean, I think we were down to on one of the runs there. I can remember I was down to I wanted to say 20% on one of the tires because one of the runs we had.
Probably.
All right, unofficial. I ran a bunch of trading off on Delara Dash at Charlotte and then Pickup Cup at Daytona, all day long. That's why I saw Kyle Busch in the Pickup Cup. But I don't think I actually won any. I had a bunch of close calls, though. But most of those times you get wrecked out lap 1 or so, and you just wait till the next start and try again.
Yeah, we didn't write it down, but in the Euro Sprint Series at Le Mans, both Greg and I won. I picked up 2 wins, and he picked up 1.
And one of them, David beat me in a race there. We were battling it out with that one guy, and David got away from him. I pitted later, and I came out, 4 seconds behind you, and another 10 seconds or 8 seconds up on that guy that was trying to fight us, and then eventually crashed out. But I think that I had I was in the Audi, you're in the Porsche LMP1, 2 different cars, 2 different setups, and we were running probably at the same times, giving up time to lap cars or the slower cars in the different parts of the field, and then I think we ended the same gap. Would have ended up the same gap if I hadn't made a mistake on the last lap than when I came out of the pits to when, to what it was. So it could never gain on you completely time wise.
Yeah, felt good when I saw you coming out 5 seconds behind me, which is what it was, and then immediately I had an LMP2 change lanes in the middle of a straightaway, and cost me 4 seconds. So you were boom, right back on top, and it was a nerve-wracking fight the whole time. And I had to basically run it perfect and even make a few aggressive moves. There was one point where we both went between a couple of GT3s that were driving side by side down the straightaway. Or not GTE, not 3.
Okay, let's talk Winter League Phoenix. Garrett Maines was on pole. He led most of the race and won. Christian Challenger, he started in the back but finished second. I finished P21. That's about what I deserve. It was green flag all the way. I have a problem remembering to turn on my fan when I race for some reason. And I was sweating like a pig at the end of this race. I couldn't get out of the seat fast enough. I was just dripping with wet sweat. David, you had a little bit better race, but it's a stacked field. P17.
Actually, P16. P17 was the week before. So, yeah, a small difference. This one was customs free, and I basically had to claw to stay 16th Never really passed anybody that qualified better than me, and only people that passed me were all the top level guys that like to not qualify and race up through the field. And then the week before, I don't remember what we were at Pocono, P17. I got caught up in a late wreck, but was never really higher than 12th. Same thing. I mean, it's a tough league. So if you get a top 10, you've had a really good day.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to run with the staff and other people in there like Garrett Maines and whatnot. Let's talk a couple weeks of OBRL results. 2 weeks ago, well, first of all, we had the Truck Series. Brian Lindsay wins at Talladega. Lee Wurzel second. Dwayne MacArthur third. And then this week it was Eddie Jones, Dwayne MacArthur, and Carl Burke at Dover for the Aftermath Truck Series. Now, the big race was ARCA, and Brian, tell us how you did.
So Monday night was OBRL race ARCA series at Daytona, and I brought home the checker.
All right.
So I took the win. It was my first OBRL win. I really appreciate everybody that was in the Discord channel for both us and the OBRL were congratulating me. It was really cool. It was a good race. I actually I was running with Chris and Tony, so we had some teammates in there. Unfortunately, those guys didn't make it to the end, but we had some pretty good strategy. We made it to the first pit stops pretty well. I wound up I started pretty like in the middle of the pack, but I was able to move up, and we had a caution with about 15 laps to go. And at the point I was started it in P5, so I was on the bottom, and managed to get like to the second place behind the leader. We were running two lanes the whole 15 laps at the end there, and I was on the bottom, the second car back, and we were noticing that the top line would we would pull ahead of the top line in the turns, and then when you get to the straightaways, they had all the momentum come off the top, and they would pass us into the entrance of the turn, and we'd pull ahead. And at the start-finish line, it was like a toss-up who was actually ahead at that point. More often than not, it was actually the higher line. So with 5 laps to go, that car that was in front of me, who was leading the inside line, decided coming off the turn that he was going to change to the high line and finish his race on the high line because he thought, I'm assuming he thought that was going to be the way to win the race. So I took the lead of the low line. So last 5 laps, that's exactly what happened. Same thing, they would pull ahead a little bit on the straights. I would make it up and pass them on the curves. And what kind of sealed it for me was when you're in the turn, like when we go into the final turn of the race, turn 3 and 4, I had pulled ahead of them because that's what had been happening, and everybody else behind me kind of started getting a little desperate, and people started making moves, and they started having had a little accident on the high line, and so that kind of killed their momentum on the high line, and I was just able to just coast to the win. So it was a really cool race, and I was pretty happy about that.
Well, long time coming, first win in the league. Those aren't easy to win, I tell you what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to give myself tell myself that it's a plate race, so everybody's a lot more equal than they are in some of these mile and a halves and stuff that we go to regularly. But I've had some good races in those too. I just never able to pull out a win. But I'll take a restrictor plate win no matter what.
I think Chris Scales said he wants an assist because he wrecked out a bunch of people. Or...
He did wreck out a few people. We worked that way towards the front, and he tried to go 3 wide in the turn 1, and the outside car just didn't give him room. He was going up through the middle, and he just didn't give him any room to go up the middle, and then took a few cars out with him. Yeah.
All right, and then you had a P9 for the OBRL Xfinity and a P3, I think, in the previous week Cup.
Yeah, so all last week was all Talladega for OBRL in all the series. So I got to run the truck race. I actually had a good run going there. I just got banged a couple of times with some accidents, and I wound up getting DQ'd out of there, and so that didn't work out too well. And then the Xfinity race was Thursday night. Since we didn't have a show, I got to do that race, and I finished P9. All these races, I felt like I was pretty strong, and I was doing really well in these packs. And then Sunday morning, we ran the Cup cars at Talladega, and I got a P3 there. And it was actually probably my best race of the week, in even the ARCA race, because my pit stops were really good. Chris was with me. He's like, "How did you come out of that pit so quick?" And it was just, I don't know. I just got lucky maybe, but that was the only way to make up track position. I had raced Talladega in 3 different vehicles that week, and everybody was you were able to run 2 or 3 wide in all the trucks. Xfinity, you could run 2 wide, 3 wide. You could run 3 wide or 2 wide in the ARCAs, but the Cup cars, you cannot run 2 wide. We couldn't do it. So the only way to make up spots was on pit road, and I had a couple really good pit stops. I was actually running P2 in that race, in the Cup race, and we were just all single file. Nobody could do anything, and I just decided at the tri-oval I was going to try to pull out and see if somebody would go with me. Maybe I'll get lucky and get the win there, but it didn't happen, and I fell back to 3rd. But it was just so frustrating running around that track in P2, knowing that you can't get past the guy in front of you. You just can't do it. So, but other than that, that was actually my better race, to be honest with you.
All right. Well done. Once you get one, the floodgates open. So let's see what happens. Let's talk get her done racing. You got a P6 at the Glen, but started outside pole.
Yeah, started outside pole at the Glen. They were off last Sunday, so this is actually from Sunday before last. I typically don't qualify that fast. I think there were probably some faster cars behind me. I don't usually qualify that high in road courses, but so I got a little pressure on me on like the 2nd or 3rd lap going into the bus stop, and overshot it a little bit, and lost a few positions. And I kind of just settled where I was, and I was a P6, and it was pretty uneventful after that. But I like the new configuration on the Glen. It's pretty cool to race there, and I think that's about where I deserve to finish, was a P6.
All right. Well, nice on the qualifying too for a road course. Well done. Let's jump to final thoughts. Brian McEvan, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I got a lot of work coming up for me. I'm going to be changing out my PC. I picked up a new one recently, so I was kind of concerned that my system was kind of overloaded with all the stuff that I have on it, and I was getting some issues in my headset. It seemed like too often where I would get stuttering and frame rate drops and stuff like that. So I haven't torn down my computer yet, but that's on the list of things to do real soon. And I just know I'm going to miss a couple of days or whatever setting the new one up.
All right, planning for the future. Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
I guess we talked about the build already, but one thing that I wanted to shout out this week is I wanted to give a shout out to a listener. I had posted in our chat that I was in a race with the LMP1s for the European Sprint Series, and a listener, Paul Kissack, I passed him on the straights, and he goes, "Are you Greg from the iRacers Lounge podcast? Are you the Greg Hectus from iRacers Lounge podcast?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He goes, "I listen every week. It's nice to be racing with you." So I was like, I thought I'd give a shout out to him for bringing that up. It's nice to have a listener recognize you on the track and go around the track. He was a slower GTE car and passed him, and he was gracious enough to let me buy it the right time of the track. David knows where the wrong parts of the track was. He did it the right way. Some guys don't, but yeah, it was good to hear from a listener that listens to the show regularly.
Yeah, that's always nice to get recognized in a race. Pretty cool. All right, David Hall, final thought?
Well, it's definitely nice to not have to worry about the crazy tracking issues going. And that's really about it. Having fun doing a lot of road racing here in the off season, and excited to see the new package get put into iRacing when they do get to it.
Yeah, and that's my final thought is, man, NASCAR. I had lost hope for you guys. Whoever is the brain trust over there who had pushed this low horsepower, high downforce package for the last 2.5 years, well, they're eating crow right now. And I'm glad they are. I didn't think they'd ever back off from it, but whoever made those choices, I'm sorry for you, and I'm happy for me. I want more horsepower than 670, though. You know, we want 900 in these cars, but hey, we'll take it. I mean, we've been running this car for a while. Nobody's liked it. So what a relief that we might have something that's going to be drivable for NIS this year. So looking forward to 4 in a row at the Daytona 500. I mean, I hope it's feasible, but I'm going to try my hardest. And with that, we'll see you on the track. Later. All right, title ideas. I like number 1.